if you could tell me your name and a group that you belong to.
I'm Tristan Lear, and at the last minute before this interview, I decided I'd go with the phrase textbook liberation project.
Right, great. Let me ask you, for listeners who aren't in school, tell us about what it's like to be a student, and especially when it comes to textbooks.
Well, when you have student loans, it's not that, like me personally, I don't care about money. It's not a big deal, but most of the people around me do. I would just as easily go to the campus Barnes and Noble and swipe my student ID and buy the textbooks. But I'm a rare case. Actually, it just turned out I was looking at my OASIS, which is the student loan aid form, and just recently, the amount awarded is $1,000 less than the total cost of tuition. So I'm gonna have to figure that out at some point. But what happened was, it's been a habit of mine. Before the semester starts, I'm excited about the class I'm about to take, and so I look up the text online, and then I see if I can find a free copy of it somewhere, like a PDF file. And there's a few places to look for those. And so for my anthropology class a few semesters ago, I did that, and I found a perfect PDF of the entire textbook. So I didn't bother to buy it. And so let's fast forward to like the first day of class. It's the syllabus day, and we're talking about the textbook, and for at least like 10 minutes, student after student's raising their hand with like problems with this textbook, like the bookstore is out of stock, and it's really, really expensive, and yada yada. And the whole time I'm thinking, I have a PDF of this textbook. should I say it? And then finally I raise my hand and I say, I've got a working PDF of the textbook. If anyone would like it, just see me after class. And like the room went silent. And so then I followed it up with, I don't know about the ethics of that necessarily, but I know I don't really have any sympathy for the publishing industry. And then the teacher got a big smile on her face, and she basically said, as long as I have nothing to do with it, as long as I don't know about it, whatever. And basically the whole class was lined up at my desk by the end of the class. Everyone was incredibly thankful, and everyone ended up getting a copy of the book for free. And so, come the semester following that, I decide to, experiment with this a little bit more. And I looked up my drugs and behavior textbook online, and sure enough, there it is. And so, on the first day of class, I introduced myself to the teacher after class, and we talked about some stuff. And I mentioned, speaking of the textbook, I have a PDF, I'd be happy to, send it out. And she said, as long as I don't know about it, whatever. And even a few students had overheard me say that right then and there, and like 3 or 4 people we traded content information. And so later on that day, I'm feeling really motivated, and I sent out this email. With Blackboard, you can send an email to the entire class, and this is a huge lecture hall class. And so I basically sent out this little miniature manifesto, and I say, for those of you who've already bought the textbook, I suggest you return it on moral grounds. The publishing company has been exploiting their position in the academic industrial complex, which is a new word I learned recently. Enjoy this free PDF, yada yada, and then very quickly I'm getting thank you. And next day, or a few days later, the email comes from the teacher to the whole class. It's come to my attention that a student has, without authorization, violated copyright, yada yada. It's a terrifying email. I'm scared. She said, number 1, USF policy, blah blah blah. Number 2, if you distribute content without permission, expect to get in trouble. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is directly to me. She's telling me I'm about to get in trouble. And I thought, well, maybe she's just trying to cover herself so that, if something happens, it doesn't come back on her. Nothing ever happened from it. But I was worried. So come this most recent semester, philosophy of mind class, I found the textbooks. I emailed the teacher and I said, I found the second edition. I know you want the third edition. If this works, and P.S., I'd be happy to share this with the rest of the class to prevent the money going to the publishing cartels. And a few hours later he responds, yes, I understand the concerns about the economics of the publishing cartels, but that's illegal, and I can't condone that. So okay. I found the third edition. I found exactly what we need, and then I went to the first day of class with flyers in hand. I sat next to one of the whiteboards, and I wrote on the whiteboard, anyone who wants a free PDF of both of the textbooks, see the student sitting here, with an arrow pointing to me. And big, huge line, and I handed out the flyers, and the teacher didn't say anything. So, I'm refining my technique as I go, I guess,
And that's this semester?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you also created flyers with
QR codes, URLs, links to where they can find the PDF, and a QR code that they can just zappy it with their phone. Everyone loves those. So,
and then today you created a Facebook page called Textbook Liberation Project. So tell us how you're, let me start that question over. This goes back to Aaron Swartz a little bit about open source and fair use policy in academics. How does what you're doing in your mind relate to what Aaron Swartz did? And remind people who don't know who that is, what he did.
That also reminds me, in that previous semester I mentioned Aaron Swartz and gave a brief overview of his story as part of my email. And, and this isn't just about free stuff, it's not about getting free stuff. It's really a moral issue. And in the email I talked about how Aaron Swartz, he, if anyone who goes to college knows that there's the internet, and then there's this big, huge portion of the internet that only people who can afford college have access to. It's the scholarly journals, and what he did was he downloaded a huge amount of the journals and released it to the public for free. And these journals, they get funded to a large extent from grants and from the government, and the publishing company sits as a mediator, as this this middleman, and collects all this money. But anyway, he released all these journals to the public, and fast forward to court, the prosecution is threatening him with 5 years in jail, and he commits suicide. So I did a little "this is for Aaron Swartz" thing in the email that I sent out before. What was the original part of the question? Oh.
I think that you answered that. Let me ask you about the cost of textbooks. For a typical college course load, about how many textbooks would you have to buy, and about how much would that cost?
I was just reading the stats from 2004. And, this morning I found the ones from 2013. Average student pays $1,200 a year in textbooks. That's 26% of the yearly tuition. So that's a huge amount of money going to these publishing cartels. I don't feel like that's deserved.
And finally, almost finally, let me ask you about what you're doing is considered copyright infringement. Possibly it could be considered illegal, and that you're infringing on the intellectual property rights of the textbook authors and these publishers. What are your concerns about that?
I have, total respect for the authors and editors and things like that. It's the corporations that are, the practice of the corporations that are what's bothering me. And actually what I'm doing it's kind of hard to say what I'm doing. Like, I can tell you about a website, and I'm pretty sure that's not illegal yet. And what I have done so far doesn't amount to much more than telling someone about a website. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act has gotten pretty ridiculous. I know something about actually having a hyperlink to a website with a copyright infringing file on it now also is illegal, even if you're not hosting the content yourself. So even a link is called like facilitating copyright infringement or making of it. I forget what the legalese is, but they managed to make that illegal somehow, to the extent where even if you search for certain things on Google, now Google is responsible for the results that it pulls up. And so you can find a textbook on Google. Like if you go to Google and type in Microsoft Windows file type :ISO, and you'll probably see at the bottom of the page several results have been omitted because we received takedown notices under the DMCA. If you would like to read the takedown notice, click here. And so you just click there and you read the letter, and then you get the URL for it anyway. So it's silly. I'm experimenting with the legal boundary here. Each semester I've gotten more and more loud and blatant about what I'm doing, and I want to see at what point. What does it take? At what point is someone with authority going to threaten me? You know what I mean? Or are they? Because I see it's going to be either one of two outcomes. Either nothing's going to happen, and I'm going to demonstrate to everyone how safe and easy it is to challenge these publishing companies and get your own textbooks, or they're going to try to do something, and then this is where the absurdity starts. This is where, what are they going to do? Make it, start having professors police their classrooms to make sure no one's, passing notes. Like, my ideal direct action that I would like to see happen at some point. We had this on campus, we had this huge Barnes & Noble. Why a public university would give public real estate to a for-profit bookstore, and why they would give them exclusive access to our federal funds, I don't know. But I would like to have a few of us set up with laptops in front of the bookstore at the busiest shopping week of the semester, and try to intercept some of their customers and ask them what book they're looking for. And, if we can find it online, simply just turn the laptop screen around and say, check out this website. And, hopefully we can turn away as many customers as possible.
Is that part of what you're talking about on the Facebook page as being the teach-ins in front of
Yes.
Barnes & Noble?
Mm-hmm. And this is all very important that I couple this along with, not just this that we're being disobedient and being ninja, but also there's a positive alternative that exists. There's open source. There's the whole open source community and open source textbooks, which are very possible, and it really just takes some proactive part on the part of the universities to make that happen for everybody.
Those are my only questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
There's all kinds of stuff I wanted to say, but that's good, yeah.